Hi, Tracy Baker here for Baker Gets Cooking, and today we're not in the kitchen, we're in the garden and we're pruning our apple tree. So I'm going to show you how living in an urban yard you can still have lots of fruit to grow. This is an apple tree that's been here for about 12 years. It's a pruning technique that's common in Europe but not so common in North America. It's called Espalier, and it is pruned, drastically pruned, so that it only grows about 3 feet deep and about 10 feet wide, and that's as big as it will ever get. Now, I prune this tree about 3 times a year, and the pruning will reduce the amount of fruit that you get, but it produces a larger, better quality fruit. So I think it's a great way to get a lot of fruit and vegetables to grow in your garden, is to use your space wisely, and this is a great way to use your space. So I'm going to go ahead and prune this, and I'll just show you the techniques that I use. So all of these branches here are new growth from this year, and I'm going to cut them, pretty much cut all of them off. Now, I've got little apples here, so you have to be careful when you're pruning to not prune off your fruit. So you got to be careful where you cut. So I'm going to take this branch, for instance, and follow it right back to the main branch that it grew from and cut it right along that main branch, so that it's as close to that main branch as I can get, and I will just continue to do that. So you can see this branch, for instance, go back to the main branch and just cut right as close to the main branch as I can get with my pruners. And again. And here's an apple, so I'm going to be careful not to prune off the apple. And we'll move up here. So this is as wide as this tree is ever going to get, because that's how I'm pruning it to make sure that it will never get any wider than this. So just kind of, you just kind of go branch by branch and prune away as much as you think you need to. I'm not a professional arborist, but this is the technique that I've kind of developed over the years. And as you can see, you've exposed the fruit more. So the idea is that if you prune off the leaves, or many leaves as possible, that you allow the plant then to put more energy into the fruit, so you in fact get better quality, larger fruit. So that's the other good thing about it, right? So I'm going to just take my 6-foot step ladder and get up to the top, and all of the fruit that this tree produces I can reach with my 6-foot step ladder. The other benefit of having a tree pruned like this is that you don't have a ton of fruit that drops on the ground, on the grass, and rots. It stays on the tree, and if fruit does fall, it just falls not into my pathway, but right into the bed underneath it. So it doesn't make as big of a mess as a tree grown the traditional way. So that's my apple tree. I'm going to take us over to where a plum tree is, and the plum tree is pretty new. I just planted it last year, so you can see kind of what it looks like at the beginning of the process and at the end of the process. So this is a plum tree that I planted last year. When I brought it home from the garden center, it was maybe 5 or 6 feet tall. And what you need to do is then prune the top back. So my fence is about a 5.5-foot tall fence, and I don't want it to grow any taller than that. So I took my shears and I cut the top off. So every time you make a cut, the tree then produces 3 branches. It produces 2 lateral branches and 1 central branch. And so I have these 3 branches that have grown this year, and I'm just going to let them grow till they're a little bit longer. So when I planted it, I kind of had a look at where the branches were lying in the tree and kind of chose ones that were naturally lateral. So I've got 2 main branches down here, and I've got some new growth here that's kind of not where I want it to be. So I'm going to take it right back to that main lateral branch and cut it off right there. And the same with this one. Now this tree didn't produce any fruit for me this year. It's too young. It'll grow for a couple of years before it produces fruit. And I'm just going to keep pruning it. And I'm going to watch for new growth along the main branch, and I'm just going to take it off as it develops. So as the branches grow, you're going to be able then to make them bend to become lateral branches. So I've got some covered wire here, and I'm just going to take the branch and gently, you have to be gentle so it doesn't break off at this main trunk, gently bend it so that it grows laterally, and then I'm just going to put my wire around it and keep it there. Now eventually the tree will just naturally grow in a lateral formation, and you'll be able to remove the wire. But for right now, because it's new, it's a young tree, I'll keep the wire on it. And so a couple of times a year, you just got to come out and reposition it. And these branches will get bigger over time. And you can see that it has kind of a natural shape right here with these 2, so I'm just going to let them grow. And this one needs to be bent so that it kind of goes around, but it's not long enough. I'm afraid if I push it too much, it will break off at the main trunk. So I'm just going to let it grow so it'll come out this way more, and then I'll slowly train it to go along the fence. And you can just kind of have a look and see how your tree is naturally growing and choose the branches so that you have lateral branches about a foot in distance from each other. So in the end, when the tree is mature, I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lateral branches. And I'll let them get to be, about 10 feet wide as well. So 5 feet on either side of the main trunk. And that's my plum tree. So as you can see, it's the before and after, and you can see that I have fruit hanging from the tree, and we've exposed the fruit to light and airflow, and that produces better quality, larger fruit as well. So I'm just going to continue with the rest of the tree, and we'll see what it looks like when I'm finally done. So there's my apple tree pruned. You can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lateral branches, and this is as big as this tree is going to get. This is not a dwarf apple tree. If you plant a dwarf apple tree, it'll be easier to control its growth. So I think that's probably if you have to choose a better choice to make. But you can see that it uses the small space that you have in your urban yard really, really well, and allows for some beautiful fruit to be picked in the fall. Thanks for joining me. The full instructions will be in my blog. The blog link will be below the video. We'll see you again next time.